Hey there, Ryan with you again for another video. And today we're going to talk about something a little out of the ordinary, something called bokeh. But before we get too into it, let me show you an example. Do you see all those little fuzzy dots in the background? That's a good representation of bokeh. So what is bokeh exactly? Well, it's the blurry or fuzzy parts of an image, or more specifically, the aesthetic quality of that fuzziness. Bokeh can manifest itself in many different ways, being either good or bad, soft or hard, unpleasant, distracting, or helpful. In the example we just showed you, the bokeh was most apparent because the subject was photographed in front of a strong point light source, which was a string of lights on a tree. So how do you make your camera produce bokeh? Well, bokeh comes out to play when the depth of field is quite limited. And the first thing you need is a camera where you can manually set the aperture. And you'll want to set it to a large aperture like f1.8, f2, or f2.8. The lower the number, like f1.8, the more limited the depth of field is, and the greater the effect. Once you get into smaller apertures though, the bokeh effect quickly vanishes. Now, many of the normal lenses, like this one here, that are bundled with cameras aren't really capable of such depth of field. But if your camera has interchangeable lenses, you'll want to invest in a lens such as this 50mm f1.8 or whatever the equivalent is for your camera system. We covered the other benefits of these lenses in a previous video, such as their better light gathering power and overall sharpness. Many macro lenses also produce great bokeh because of their longer focal lengths and f2.8 apertures. So once you've set your aperture on the camera, it's all about distance. You'll want to be pretty close to your subject. If you stand way back and allow the lens to focus on a really distant subject, the bokeh effect will be minimal or non-existent. Secondly, make sure your subject has some distance between themselves and the background. If they're standing right up against a wall, for instance, the bokeh effect will again be quite unnoticeable. So what makes good bokeh? Well, we mentioned earlier that pointed light sources like the string of lights on a tree, lit up windows at night, and car headlights will produce the coolest bokeh effects. But remember that it refers to any of the fuzzy or blurry parts of your photos, as it helps to separate your subjects from their environment. The pointed lights have a cool graphic effect, but foliage, textured walls, and other backgrounds can make for interesting bokeh too. So just to recap, grab your fast aperture lens, manually set it to a large aperture, and keep close to your subject while they're kept away from the background. Play around, have fun, and when you've got some results, show them to us on our Facebook wall. Thanks for watching this episode, and please check back regularly at blacks.ca for new videos.